It's Christmas Day and the servants and the family get and open their presents. Anna isn't really feeling the Christmas spirit because her husband is rotting away in jail awaiting the trial for the alleged murder of his wife. Oh, by the way, Rosamund is back with her lady's maid Marigold Shaw to celebrate Christmas with the Crawleys, and she set her sights on her Lord Jinx Hepworth. Yeah, that's his name, Jinx. She's also invited him to come spend Christmas with them, but all Violet can see is a fortune hunter, and she asks him exactly what his broke ass wants with her daughter, and he's honest and he says that he needs cash, but he also says he loves Rosamund. Rosamund could care less about the whole money thing. He's hot. Matthew's got some terrible news. Lavinia's father, Reginald Swire, is dying, and he asks Matthew to visit him before he goes.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Richard is still a pain in the ass to these two. His jealousy is actually understandable.
Man, shut your bitch ass up, nigga. I probably asked you that a bitch ass thing. You better shut the fuck.
Before you start pelting tomatoes at me, hear me out. Imagine if this was your fiancé and you were constantly with this one person, talking it up with them, laughing with them, wanting to be with them all the time, and preferring their company to yours. It gets weird, okay? Don't get me wrong, I don't want Mary and Richard to end up together, but I can see where he's coming from. Mary keeps stalling and dodging any conversations about setting a date for her and Richard's wedding, and it leads to this scene at dinner.
Even my patience has its limits.
Although no one at the table confronts him, Matthew and Robert take note of Mary's annoyance at even the thought of Richard, and Cora finally tells Robert the truth. Mary, on the other hand, refuses to tell Matthew anything.
If I told you the reason, you would despise me, and that I really couldn't bear.
Or so she thinks. Thomas is still feeling like a spare part that's taking up space at Downton. If you don't remember, Thomas left service in season 1, came back in season 2 to oversee things at Downton when it was a convalescent home during the war, and once the war was over, Thomas started getting into the black market to make big bucks, got scammed, and now has rejoined the downstairs staff as a footman. Nobody really trusts him, and can you blame them? The only friend he has, O'Brien, gives him some ideas on how to make himself useful.
Do him a good turn. Hide something he loves and find it and give it back.
And his sights are set on Isis, the family dog. He hides it in a shed. No, wait. Locks it up in a shed and scurries away. Bates' trial finally takes place, and Mrs. Hughes, O'Brien, and Robert are called to be prosecution witnesses. The prosecution manages to twist what they say to fit the narrative that Bates is a murderer, and I have so many problems with this.
And what did he call her?
He said she was a bitch.
Okay, so how did the prosecution know that Mrs. Hughes overheard Bates and Vera's conversation? And how the hell did they know what he called her? It's like the prosecution got the script for season 2, because why do they know everybody's lines? So, what is the verdict?
Guilty, my lord.
I have hated this whole Vera plotline forever. We never get an explanation for why Vera hated Bates so much. For heaven's sake, he went to prison for her. And can you really hate someone so much that you're willing to commit suicide just to frame them? It makes no sense. Thankfully, they managed to get his sentence reduced to life imprisonment so they can build a strong case in the meantime before appealing. Robert finally takes note that Isis is missing and he arranges a search party to find her. Thomas is unable to get the dog out of the shed as Mr. Carson is watching Thomas's every step. It's not that Mr. Carson thinks Thomas has something to do with it, but more like Thomas is acting sus. The search party does not find the dog and they return home. Thomas knows that he's going to get screwed if the dog dies in the shed, so he heads out early in the morning only to find that the dog is missing. But when he returns, he learns that Robert has already got the dog back. He is lucky the dog can't talk. Robert is actually very touched to find that Thomas would go to such lengths to find the dog, and he decides to take Thomas as his valet, which is exactly what he wanted, so everything worked. Matthew begs Mary to tell him the reason why she's still with Carlisle, and she comes clean. Matthew takes a moment to comprehend what he heard, but he tells Mary that she should still dump Richard, explaining that a lifetime of misery is the last thing he'd want for her.
I never could despise you.
Robert also tells her to dump Richard, saying that he does not want his daughter to marry a man who threatened her with ruin. Daisy gets a letter from her father-in-law telling her he wants to see her. She wants to come clean and tell him that she did not love his son, but Mrs. Patmore begs her not to, and when it comes down to it, she can't bring herself to say it. When Violet runs into crying Daisy explains everything to her. Even she tells Daisy that what she did for William was an act of love and there was nothing deceitful about it. The thing that finally convinces her to visit Mr. Mason is when Mrs. Patmore does an Ouija board special, faking a message from William's ghost to visit his father. Mary takes Matthew's and her father's advice and braces herself to break up with Richard. Richard loses it, but honestly, did she ever act like she was in love with you? Matthew rushes in when he hears raised voices, and he and Richard fight it out.
Stop this at once!
And it works. Yeah, they stop and Richard leaves Downton. Mary apologizes for using him and he tells her he did love her more than she ever did. A servants' ball is organized and Rosamond invites her precious Lord Hepworth to enjoy it with them. Anna notices Rosamond's lady's maid Shore is acting sussy, and when she sees her sneaking off with Hepworth, Mary, Rosamond and Anna go upstairs to check what they're doing, and they were doing what you think they were doing. After the ball ends, Mary and Matthew are outside discussing Mary's departure to America. Oh yeah, so Mary had made plans to go to America to ride out the scandal that would ensue after Richard would publish the story. Matthew asks her if she would stay if he wanted her to.
Oh, Matthew, you don't mean that.
But that's exactly what he means.
You've lived your life and I've lived mine. It's time we live them together.
He gets down on one knee and proposes to her properly, and she says yes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more videos. Check out my other videos if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.